17. Inheritance. Gene mutation. Gene mutations are inheritable, small-scale changes in the sequence of DNA. Many arise spontaneously while DNA is being replicated or after it is exposed to ultraviolet or ionizing radiation, alkylating agents, or some other mutagen in the environment. DNA and replication. During cell division, we learned that chromosomes replicate. Actually, it is the DNA molecule that replicates itself. This ensures that genetic information is passed on from one generation to the next without any loss. Chromosomes contain DNA carrying information in the form of genes. A gene is a length of DNA that codes for a protein. An allele is an alternative form of a gene. Sex, in humans, is determined by the X and Y chromosomes. Males are XY, females are 20. Sequences of bases control production of the amino acids that make up a protein. Different sequences of amino acids give different shapes to protein molecules. DNA controls cell function by controlling the production of proteins. The process of making proteins involves mRNA and ribosomes. All body cells in an organism contain the same genes, but many genes in a particular cell are not expressed because the cell only makes the specific proteins it needs. In a diploid cell there is a pair of each type of chromosome. In a human diploid cell there are 23 pairs. In a haploid cell there is only one of each type of chromosome. In a human haploid cell there are 23 individual chromosomes. Mitosis is nuclear division giving rise to genetically identical cells. Mitosis is important in growth, repair of damaged tissues, replacement of cells and asexual reproduction. The exact replication of chromosomes occurs before mitosis. During mitosis, the copies of chromosomes separate, maintaining the chromosome number in each daughter cell. Stem cells are unspecialized cells that divide by mitosis to produce daughter cells that can become specialized for specific functions. Mitosis is a type of cell division that produces genetically identical cells in which the chromosome number is maintained. It involves in growth, repair of tissues, and in asexual reproduction. Meiosis is a type of cell division that halves the chromosome number from diploid to haploid, 2n to n. It produces gametes that are genetically different from each other. Inheritance is the transmission of genetic information from generation to generation. The genotype of an organism is its makeup, e.g. TT and TT, etc. The phenotype of an organism is its observable features, e.g. height, skin color, tongue rolling, etc. Karyotype is the complete set of isolated chromosomes of a cell of an individual. Homozygous means having two identical alleles of a particular gene. Two identical homozygous individuals that breed together will be purebreeding, e.g. TT. Heterozygous means having two different alleles of a particular gene. A heterozygous individual will not be purebreeding, e.g. TT. A dominant allele is one that is expressed if it is present in the genotype. IGCSE and O-Level Smart Biology M. Rashid Chatha 030046100457. A recessive allele is one that is only expressed when there is no dominant allele of the gene present in the genotype. Pedigree diagrams can be used to show how genetic diseases can be inherited in a family. Genetic diagrams are used to predict the results of monohybrid crosses and calculate phenotypic ratios. Punnett squares can be used in crosses to work out and show the possible different genotypes. A test cross is used to identify an unknown genotype, for instance to find out if it is purebreeding or heterozygous. In some cases, neither one of a pair of alleles is fully dominant over the other. This is called codominance. The inheritance of ABO blood groups is an example of codominance. A sex-linked characteristic is a feature in which the gene responsible is located on a sex chromosome, which this makes it more common in one sex than in the other. Color blindness is an example of sex linkage. Genetic diagrams can be used to predict the results of monohybrid crosses involving co-dominance and sex linkage. A chromosome contains a long length of DNA divided into sections called genes. A gene is a unit of inheritance. DNA controls the production of proteins. Each gene controls the protein. Genes may be copies and passed on to the next generation. Alleles are different forms of a gene. Alleles may be dominant or recessive. A dominant allele is expressed in the heterozygote, a recessive allele is only expressed in the recessive homozygote. The genetic makeup of an organism is called its genotype. The phenotype of an organism is its appearance, or how the genotype is expressed. Dominant gene is showing complete dominance. Genetic crosses produce offspring in predictable ratios, such as the 3:1 ratio from a cross between two heterozygotes. Observed ratios of phenotypes from a cross may differ from predicted rations, especially when there are small numbers of offspring. Some alleles of a gene are codominant, where the heterozygote shows features intermediate between those of the two homozygous genotypes. ABO blood groups are a result of codominant alleles. A mutation is a change in the structure of a gene or chromosome, or a change in chromosome number. Sickle cell anemia is caused by a gene mutation. Down syndrome is caused by a chromosome mutation. Mutagens such as radiation and chemicals increase the rate of mutation. X and Y chromosomes determine the sex of humans. Females have the genotype 20 and males the genotype XY. Variation in organisms can be discontinuous, such as blood groups, or continuous, such as height in humans. Competition leads to the differential survival of organisms and reproduction of those individuals most suited to their environment, a process called natural selection. Over many generations, natural selection causes species to change, in the process called evolution. Artificial selection involves selective breeding by humans to produce animals and plants with desirable characteristics. Genetic engineering involves transferring genes between cells. IGCSE and O-Level Smart Biology M. Rashid Chatha 030046104457. The gene that controls the production of human insulin can be inserted into bacterial DNA, and the genetically engineered bacteria used to produce human insulin on a commercial scale. There are potential advantages and dangers associated with genetic engineering. Keywords: genetics, gene, DNA, RNA, chromosomes, allele, homozygous, heterozygous, hybrid, monohybrid, dihybrid, dominant, recessive, cross, first filial generation, second filial generation, first parental generation, second parental generation, gametes, hemophilia, color blindness, sickle cell anemia, centromere, genotype, phenotype, mutation, genetic engineering, gene technology, gene therapy, codominance, incomplete dominance, inbreeding, outbreeding, genetic code, competition. Survival of the fittest, gene cloning, replication, advantages of genetic engineering, disadvantages of genetic engineering, haploid number, diploid number, zygote, Punnett square. Glossary. Alleles. Two genes are called alleles of each other when they occupy the same relative position on homologous chromosomes, and control development of the same hereditary characteristic. Chromatid, one of the two identical strands of a chromosome. These separate during cell division and move to opposite ends of the cell. Chromosomes, rod-like structures visible in the nucleus of a cell during cell division, consisting of genes, and containing the hereditary information of the cell. Crossing over, a process during meiosis in which chromosomes exchange material with one another. This increases the chances of variation within a species. DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, a chemical within chromosomes which contains the hereditary information of the cell. Dominant characteristic, one which appears in the phenotype when crossed with a contrasting recessive characteristic. F1 generation. The first filial generation. Organisms produced by crossing animals or plants which form the starting point of a genetical experiment. F2 generation, organisms produced by crossing or self-crossing members of an FI generation. Gene, part of a chromosome which controls the appearance of a set of hereditary characteristics. Genetics, the scientific study of genes. Genotype, the genetic makeup of an organism, or the set of genes which it possesses. Heterozygous, an organism is said to be heterozygous for a characteristic when the alleles, two genes, which control it are opposite in nature, e.g. TT. Homologous chromosomes, chromosomes form pairs in the early stages of meiosis. The two chromosomes of each pair are identical in shape and size and are described as homologous. Homozygous, an organism is said to be homozygous for a characteristic when the alleles, two genes, which control it are identical in nature, e.g. TT. IGCSE and O-Level Smart Biology M. Rashid Chatha 030046104457. Meiosis, cell division that produces gametes, and results in cells with half the number of chromosomes found in the parent cell. Mitosis, type of cell division resulting in cells with the same number of chromosomes as the parent cell. Monohybrid cross, cross between organisms which show contrasting variations of only one characteristic. Phenotype, the visible hereditary characteristics of an organism, physical appearance like height, skin color, and tongue rolling, etc. Genotype, an arrangement of genes or genetical characteristics of an organism, e.g. TT, TT, and TT, etc. Recessive characteristic, one that does not appear in the phenotype when crossed with a dominant characteristic. Segregation, the separation of genes which are alleles of each other at meiosis and their movement into separate gametes. X chromosome, a chromosome which, when present in a zygote either alone or with another X chromosome, causes that zygote to develop into a female organism. Y chromosome. A chromosome which, when present in a zygote, results in that zygote developing into a male organism. Short MCQs with right answers. 1. In mice, the allele for black hair is dominant to the allele for brown hair. Which proportion of offspring will have brown hair if a cross is made between a homozygous black mouse and a heterozygous black mouse? 0%. 2. Which statement about the synthesis of a protein molecule in a cell is correct? The sequence of amino acids is determined by the sequence of bases in the mRNA. 3. Each statement describes cell division by mitosis or meiosis in humans. 1. It produces cells that show variation. 2. It produces cells that are diploid. 3. It produces cells that are haploid. 4. It involves reduction division. Which statements describe meiosis? 4. What is defined as a length of DNA that codes for a protein? Gene 5. A man has 3 sons. What is the chance of his next child being a daughter? 50%. 6. When breeding, which pair of parents will be pure breeding for a particular characteristic? 2 homozygous individuals. 7. 34. In a pea plant, the allele for round seeds, R, is dominant to the allele for wrinkled seeds, R. If plants with the genotype RR are crossed, what are the likely proportions of offspring? 3 with round seeds, 1 with wrinkled seeds. 8. The graph shows the frequency of a human characteristic, X. Which characteristics can be represented by X? IGCSE and O-Level Smart Biology M. Rashid Chatha 030046104457. 9. Which row shows some of the features involved in natural selection? 10. Which statement is correct? Chromosomes are made of DNA. 11. In a species of mammal, black fur color is dominant and brown fur color is recessive. 2 parents with black fur produce offspring which all have black fur. Later that year, the same parents produce more offspring. One of these offspring has brown fur. Which statement about fur color is correct? Both parents are heterozygous. 12. The genotype for the height of an organism is written as TT. Which conclusion may be drawn? There are at least 2 different alleles of the gene for height. 13. Albinism is an inherited condition in which pigment does not develop in the skin, hair and eyes. The albino allele is recessive. What are the chances of albino parents having a normal child? 0%. 14. In some animals, B is the allele for normal skin, without spots, and B is the allele for spotted skin. A pair of these animals has 37 offspring, 18 with spots and 19 without. What are the most likely? Genotypes of the parents. BBXBB. 15. What is always found in female gametes and may be found in male gametes? 1X chromosome 16. Which sex chromosomes are present in all mature human sperm cells? Either X or Y chromosome 17. In pea plants, the allele for tall stems is dominant to the allele for short stems. A heterozygous tall plant is crossed with the short plant, and 100 offspring are produced. How many of the offspring are likely to be tall? 50-18. The nucleus in a body cell of a fly contains 12 chromosomes. How many chromosomes are there in the nucleus of a sperm from this fly? 6-19. A man has 3 sons. What is the chance of his next child being a son? 50% 20. How does a haploid nucleus differ from a diploid nucleus of the same species? It has fewer chromosomes. 21. A human cell contains a length of DNA that carries the code for making which substance? Lipase 22. In cats, the allele for short hair is dominant to the allele for long hair. A short-haired cat gives birth to 5 kittens. 2 of them have long hair. Which statement must be correct? The female cat is heterozygous. IGCSE and O-Level Smart Biology M. Rashid Chatter 030046104457. 23. Cystic fibrosis is an inherited disease that occurs when an individual is homozygous for a recessive allele. If parents are both heterozygous for this characteristic, what is the probability that their first child will have cystic fibrosis? 25% 24. What determines the sex of a baby? The father's chromosomes. 25. Albinism in human is caused by a recessive allele. Parents who do not suffer from the condition produce an albino child. What is the probability that their second child will be born albino? 25% 26. A cell with 16 chromosomes divides twice by mitosis. How many chromosomes does each of the resulting cells contain? 1627. A man of genotype IA-IO and woman of genotype IB-IO have a child. What is the chance that the child will have the same blood group as one of its parents? 1 in 228. Which statement is true of both chromosomes and genes? Each may be copied and passed on in mitosis. 29. Genetics is the study of mechanisms of inheritance. 30. A genetic cross between 2 organisms may be shown as GGXGG. What does G represent? A recessive allele 31. Dianthus flowers can be one of 3 different colors, red, pink, or white. A red flower is always homozygous and a white flower is always homozygous. Pink flowers are heterozygous. If a red and a white flower are crossed, what percentage of the offspring will be pink? 100% 32. Some features of cell division are listed. 1. Haploid cells are produced. 2. New cells are genetically identical. 3. Reduction division 4 results in variation. Which features would be associated with meiosis? 1, 3, and 433. Which statement about the human sex chromosomes is correct? Everybody has at least one X chromosome. 34, which results from meiosis of a diploid cell. Genetically identical diploid cells 35. What will be the genotypes of the offspring resulting from a genetic cross between 2 individuals, one of which is homozygous dominant, TT, and the other heterozygous? 50% TT, 50% TT36. What are alleles? Different versions of the same gene. 37. Which statement about the sex chromosomes is correct? Men and women can inherit characteristics from genes carried on the X chromosome. 38. In the inheritance of ABO blood groups, when 2 parents have the genotypes IAIA and IAIO, what is the blood group of their offspring? Group A 39. Which structure in plant cells build protein molecules under the control of the nucleus? Ribosomes 40. What is the inheritance of color blindness an example of? Sex linkage 41. The phenotype of an organism is its observable features. 42. Color blindness is a condition that occurs more frequently in men than in women. Which statement about this condition is correct? It is a sex-linked characteristic. 43. In some mammals the allele for brown coat color is dominant to the allele for white coat color. Which percentage of offspring will be white if a cross is made between two heterozygous mammals? 25%. 44. Which term is defined as a length of DNA that codes for a protein? Gene. 45. Cell X contains 16 chromosomes. It divides by meiosis. How many chromosomes do each of the new cells contain? 846. Cell division by meiosis of a parent cell with 23 pairs of chromosomes will result in 4 cells, each with 23 single chromosomes. 47. In some plants, H is the dominant allele for hairy stems and H is the recessive allele for smooth stems. A pair of these plants produce 37 offspring, 18 with hairy stems and 19 with smooth stems. What are the most likely genotypes of the parents? HHXHH. IGCSE and O-Level Smart Biology M. Rashid Chatha 030046100457. 48. A pure-breeding white rat crossed with a pure-breeding black rat. All their offspring were black. One of the offspring was bred with a pure-breeding white rat. What is the most likely percentage of black rats in the offspring? 50-49. Which of these cells is haploid? Sperm cell. 50. What is a feature of self-pollination? Pollen grains are transferred from the anther of a flower to the stigma of a flower on a different plant. 51. What is true of chromosomes present in the daughter nuclei after meiosis and mitosis? Meiosis, mitosis, non-identical, identical. 52. What are the chromosomes for the two sexes in human beings? Female, male. 20xy. 53. A plant has two different alleles of a gene resulting in it having a green seed. Which row describes the phenotype and genotype of the seeds of this plant? Phenotype, genotype, green, heterozygous. 54. What are the sex chromosomes for human females and males? Female, male. 20xy. 55. What are correct descriptions of mitosis and meiosis? Mitosis, meiosis involved in asexual reproduction halves the chromosome number. 56. What happens to the chromosome number after meiosis and after mitosis? Meiosis, mitosis. Halved stays the same. 57. What happens in mitosis? Genetically identical cells produced chromosome number is halved. X. 58. Which type of reproduction and which type of cell division produces nuclei with half the number of chromosomes? Type of reproduction, type of cell division, sexual meiosis. 59. Which sex chromosomes in the egg and the sperm will produce a male child? Sex chromosomes in egg, sex chromosomes in sperm. X, Y. 60. What describes the nuclei in human reproduction? Egg, sperm, zygote, haploid, haploid, diploid. 61. One parent has blood group A and the other parent has blood group B. Their first child has blood group O. What are the possible blood groups of their next child? IGCSE and O-Level Smart Biology M. Rashid Chatha 030046100457. Group A, Group B, Group A, B, Group O. 62. Which row correctly shows whether the nuclei of the cells are diploid or haploid? Body cells, diploid, gametes, haploid, zygote, diploid. 63. Which hormone is given to women undergoing fertility treatment? FSH. 64. Acrosome at the head of a sperm cell? It is involved in the digestion of the ovum cell membrane. 65. What is a mutation? A change in a gene. 66. A pure-breeding white rat was crossed with a pure-breeding black rat. All their offspring were black. One of the offspring was bred with a pure-breeding white rat. What is the most likely percentage of black rats in the offspring? 50%. 67. Which statement about the sex chromosomes is correct? Men and women can inherit characteristics from genes carried on the X chromosome. 68. In some mammals the allele for brown coat color is dominant to the allele for white coat color. Which percentage of offspring will be white if a cross is made between two heterozygous mammals? 25%. 69. The list shows the diploid number of chromosomes of 4 organisms. 8 fruit flies, 46 human, 48 potato and 14 garden pea. What is the correct chromosome number of a male sex cell in each of these organisms? Fruit fly, 4, human, 23, potato, 24, garden pea, 770. An alligator has 32 chromosomes in each of the cells of its nose. How many chromosomes will an alligator zygote contain? 3271. Dianthus flowers can be one of 3 different colors, red, pink or white. A red flower is always homozygous and a white flower is always homozygous. Pink flowers are heterozygous. If a red and a white flower are crossed, what percentage of the offspring will be pink? 100%. 72. Cell division by meiosis of a parent cell with 23 pairs of chromosomes will result in. For cells, each with 23 single chromosomes. 73. Which human phenotype is affected by environmental and genetic factors? Body size 74. A man of genotype IA-IO and woman of genotype IB-IO have a child. What is the chance that the child will have the same blood group as one of its parents? 1 in 2. 75. A man of genotype IA-IB and woman of genotype IB-IO have a child. What is the chance that the child will have the same blood group as one of its parents? 3 in 176. A cell with 16 chromosomes divides twice by mitosis. How many chromosomes does each of the resulting cells contain? 1677. Cystic fibrosis is an inherited disease. The allele for cystic fibrosis is recessive. A woman is heterozygous and her partner is homozygous dominant. What is true of any children they produce? There is a 1 in 2 chance to being heterozygous. 78. Cell X contains 16 chromosomes. It divides by meiosis. How many chromosomes do each of the new cells contain? 879. Which statement about blood groups in humans is correct? They are determined only by genes. 80. What is the role of mRNA? Carries a copy of the gene out of the nucleus. 81. A man marries a woman who has a different blood group from him. They have 2 children. The children have different blood groups from each other and different blood groups from their parents. What are the genotypes of the parents' blood groups? IA, IB and IO-IO. 82. Which name is given to different versions of a gene? Allele 83. Which feature of meiosis ensures that the zygote haploid gametes are formed? 84. What is the correct definition of a gene mutation? A change in the base sequence of DNA. 85. What happens as a result of meiosis? Haploid cells are produced. IGCSE and O-Level Smart Biology M. Rashid Chatha 030046100457. 86. The statements describe how a protein is made. 1. mRNA passes through a ribosome. 2. mRNA molecules carry a copy of the gene to the cytoplasm. 3. The gene coding for the protein is copied in the nucleus. 4. Ribosomes assemble amino acids into proteins. What is the order of statements that correctly describes how a protein is made? 321-487. Parents with allele IA, IB and IO-IO can produce children with which blood group? A and B. 88. During protein synthesis, what is the function of the ribosome? Assembles amino acids in a chain. 89. Which row shows the feature of stem cells? Stem cells are unspecified and are divided by mitosis. 90. Which statement is correct description of the role of meiosis? To halve the chromosome numbers in the daughter cells. 91. When damaged tissues are repaired, cells undergo division by mitosis to produce genetically identical cells. 92. Which statement about meiosis is correct? The parent cells contain as many chromosomes as each daughter cells. 93. Which row describes what happens in the production of proteins? Sequence of bases forms the genetic code. DNA codes for the sequence of the amino acids. mRNA carries a copy of the gene to the cytoplasm. 94. Which statement about meiosis is correct? Meiosis produces gametes. 95. In mice, the allele for black hair is dominant to the allele of brown hair. What proportion of offspring will have brown hair if a cross is made between a homozygous black mouse and a heterozygous black mouse? 0%. 96. What happens during meiosis? A diploid cell divides to form haploid cells. 97. Red-green color blindness is a condition that occurs more frequently in men than in women. Which statement about this condition is correct? It is a sex-linked characteristic. 98. Meiosis is sometimes called a reduction division. What is reduced during meiosis? Chromosomes are reduced in number. 99. In guinea pigs the allele for black fur is dominant and the allele for white fur is recessive. A test cross can be used to determine the genotype of a black guinea pig. What would be the expected result of the test cross if the black guinea pig was heterozygous? 50% black and 50% white. 100. Which substance is coded for by a length of DNA? Lipase. 101. Which statement about the inheritance of red-green color blindness is correct? The gene for red-green color blindness is located on the X chromosome. 102. A couple are both heterozygous for the sickle cell allele. What is the probability that their first child will have sickle cell anemia? 25%. 103. Coat color in cattle is controlled by two codominant alleles. The genotype CRCR results in cattle with a red-colored coat. The genotype CRCW results in a roan coat. These cattle have a mixed red hairs and white hairs in their coat. A mating occurs between a red cow and a roan butt. What is the expected ratio of coat color in the offspring? 50% red, 50%. Roan. 104. What is defined as a thread-like structure of DNA carrying genetic information in the form of genes? Chromosomes. 105. A man heterozygous for the sickle cell anemia allele, HBS-HBA, has children with a woman who is homozygous for a normal allele, HBA-HBA. What is the probability that the first child will be resistant to malaria? 0.5. 106. Some statements about mitosis are listed. 1. Cells divide and produce new cells to repair damaged tissues. 2. Chromosomes are duplicated and the cell separates to form gametes. 3. Chromosomes are duplicated and the cell separates to form genetically identical cells. 4. Mitosis is used in asexual reproduction. Which statements are correct? 1, 3, and 4. 107. Which statement about meiosis is correct? IGCSE and O-Level Smart Biology M. Rashid Chatter 030046100457. It allows the formation of new combinations of chromosomes. 108. Color blindness is a characteristic that is sex-linked. Which statement about color blindness is correct? The gene for color blindness is located on the X chromosome and color blindness is more common in males than in females. 109. Which definition of mitosis is correct? Nuclear division giving rise to genetically identical cells. 110. What happens during meiosis? A diploid cell produces haploid cells that are genetically different. 111. What is a correct description of gene mutation? A change in the base sequence of DNA. 112. Which statement is correct? Phenotypic variation can be caused by genetic variation. 113. Which statement about a person who is heterozygous for the sickle cell is allele correct? They are resistant to malaria and their genotype is HBA-HBS. 114. Which structures in bacterial cells synthesize proteins? Ribosomes. 115. A man with a blood group AB and a woman with blood group O have a child. What are the Correct percentages of the possible blood groups for this child? 50% A and 50% B116. What happens to the mass of DNA in a nucleus before mitosis occurs? It doubles. 117. Before meiosis takes place, a cell has 24 chromosomes. How many chromosomes will be found in each of the cells that are produced by meiosis? 12,118. What is needed in the cytoplasm to make proteins at a ribosome? mRNA and amino acids 119. Pangolins are mammals. One species of pangolin has 40 chromosomes per body cell. How many chromosomes will a sperm cell from this species of pangolin have? 2,120. What is an adaptive feature of sperm? Enzymes in the acrosome 121. A woman with normal color vision is a carrier for the color blindness allele, XBXB. What is the chance of the male child being colorblind? 50% 122. Some fruit flies have orange eyes and others have red eyes. If two orange-eyed fruit flies are crossed, their offspring always have orange eyes. If two red-eyed fruit flies are crossed, their offspring can have orange eyes or red eyes. What can be concluded from these observations? The allele for orange eyes is recessive. 123. When a horse with red hair genotype Her Royal Highness R breeds with a horse white hair, genotype HWHW, the offspring have red and white hair genotype Her Royal Highness W. These horses are described as having roan-colored hair. This is an example of codominance. When two horses with roan-colored hair are bred together, what is chance of their offspring also having roan-colored hair? 50%. IGCSE and O-Level Smart Biology. Rashid Chatter 0300 461 0457.